This is the triple gauge indicator for brakes of an Airbus 320 aircraft. It is located at the front instrument panel near first officer side. Accumulator pressure indicates the pressure from the yellow hydraulic system charging the accumulator or from the accumulator when the yellow hydraulic system is not available. Brake pressure indicators displays the brake pressure from the yellow hydraulic system or from the accumulator and send to each side either by the parking brake or by the pedals. In alternate braking without anti-skid, the green scale is used by the pilot as reference not to lock the wheels. The landing gear up lock indication appears if the gear up lock device at the gear well has been engaged when the gear is down locked. Whereas, landing gear control appears when there is a discrepancy between the landing gear lever and the gear position. Gear door positions is as per below indication: door locked up, door in transit, door fully open. Tire pressure indication: the normal indication is green. It becomes amber if the tire pressure gets too low. Note, it depends also on the tire and aircraft weight. On some aircraft, tire pressure indication system is an optional item and depends on the operator whether they would like to install or to save cost. Gear positions: gear up and lock the gear is in transit when two red triangles shown and amber line door position. When triangles shown in red and green, it means that one system detects gear in transit and the other one detects gear down and locked. Only one green triangle is sufficient to indicate that the gear is down and locked. If both triangle is in green including door line, gear is down and locked. Each triangle indicates the gear position detected by its related landing gear control interface unit. Nose wheel steering label appears only in case of loss of the nose wheel steering due to steering system failure or brake and steering control unit total failure, or yellow hydraulic system low pressure or anti-skid and nose wheel steering switch is at off position. Anti-skid label is normally not displayed, but it appears in amber indicating a total brake and steering control unit failure or an anti-skid failure due to the anti-skid and nose wheel steering switch is at off or normal braking, and yellow hydraulic system low pressure. Anti-skid label appears in green when anti-skid is still available with auto brake, normal or alternate brake system failed. Brake temperature indication on wheel page normally in green and the arcs will be in gray. A green arc appears on the hottest wheel when one brake temperature exceeds 100 degrees Celsius. And when above 300 degrees Celsius, the arc and the temperature will appear amber followed by brakes hot warning. On ECAM display, it is recommended to switch on brake fans to cool down the wheel brakes. Anti-skid release indicator appears only in amber in case of brake released fault. Hydraulic supply appears only when the related label is displayed. It is in green when the related hydraulic pressure is available, and in amber in case of related hydraulic low pressure. Normal brake label appears only in green when normal braking is still available with a failure of auto brake or alternate braking. It appears in amber in case of normal braking failure due to total brake and steering control unit failure or loss of green hydraulic pressure or loss of anti-skid. Alternate brake label appears only in green when normal braking is in alternate mode and is still available, and auto brake failure or normal braking failure. In amber in case of alternate braking failure. Auto brake label appears in green when auto brake is armed. Flashing green for 10 seconds after an auto brake disengagement. In amber, indicating a system failure. Whereas the rate indication of max, medium or low are displayed in green showing which rate has been selected. Accumulator indication appears only when the alternate brake label is displayed. It is in green as long as the accumulator is normally pressurized. It appears in amber with no arrow if the yellow hydraulic and the accumulator pressures are low. Accumulator indication appears in green and the arrow points the other way round when the alternate braking is pressurized by only the accumulator. For manual extension of landing gears, there are gravity extension handle on the center pedestal. For gravity extension, the handle must be pulled out and then rotated 3 turns clockwise. It controls the closure of the cutout valve, which depressurizes the landing gear hydraulic system. Landing gear position lights located at front instrument panel on first officer side indicates the gear positions by the landing gear control and interface unit. Unlock in red shows gear is not locked in the selected position. Green triangle shows gear is locked down. If no lights means gear is locked up. Auto brake push button. When momentarily pressed, it allows the arming of the related deceleration mode one at a time. When a deceleration mode is selected, maximum for takeoff, maximum braking pressure is applied immediately at ground spoiler deployment order. Low or medium for landing, progressive braking pressure few seconds after the ground spoiler deployment order to decelerate at the selected rate. Deceleration comes on green only when the actual deceleration is 80% of the selected rate. Brake fan push button switch are optional. It controls the optional brake cooling fans. When it is pushed on, cooling fans are running as long as the gear is down and locked. When the hot sign illuminates amber on the switch, the brake temperature is getting too hot and the cooling fans must be switched on. If it has been switched on with a brake hot, you must stop the cooling fans only when the brake temperature is below 150 degrees Celsius and not when the hot light is off. When the anti-skid and nose wheel steering switch is at on position, the anti-skid protection on the normal braking or on the alternate braking and the nose wheel steering are available. Whereas in off position, the nose wheel steering is lost. Differential braking by brake pedals can be used and the alternate braking is selected with no anti-skid protection. Landing gear lever controls a 2-position selector valve to extend or to retract the landing gear provided the airspeed is below 260 knots. Up selects the retraction and allows the normal braking system to stop the main wheels, the nose wheels being stopped by brake band. Down selects the extension and activates the interlock mechanism, preventing anyone from accidentally retracting the gear when the aircraft is on the ground or the nose wheel steering is not centered. The arrow comes on red when the gear is not locked down in landing configuration. Landing configurations are if below 750 feet radio altimeter and engine thrust both below 75% N1 or remaining engine below 97% N1. Secondly, if below 750 feet radio altimeter and both engine thrusts not at takeoff and flaps at config 3 or full. And if both radio altimeter failed and flaps at config 3 or full. Brake fan memo message appears in green only when the optional brake fan push button switch is on. Nose wheel steering disconnect memo message appears when the bypass pin is in prior to towing. For pushback, the nose wheel steering selector, located on the nose wheel, must be in the towing position. So in order to indicate that nose wheel steering is not possible from the cockpit, it appears in green before engine start and in amber if at least one engine is running. Auto brake memo message appears in green when the auto brake has been armed in the related selected rate, auto brake max, auto brake low, auto brake medium. And when armed and the auto brake is faulty, auto brake off appears. Lastly, the park brake memo message appears when the parking brake is on when the aircraft is on ground before takeoff power application or after landing when the speed is below 80 knots. Parking brake handle is located on the center pedestal. Parking brake handle must be pulled and turned clockwise to apply the parking brake. The brake pressure is applied only if the park brake handle is at on position. The steering hand wheels control the nose wheel steering angle up to maximum allowed angle depending on aircraft speed in either direction. Signals from each hand wheel are summed up. If two hand wheels are moved in the same direction, the nose wheel deflection will be equivalent to the sum of the hand wheel commands. As long as the rudder pedal discharge push button is maintained pressed, it removes the control of the nose wheel steering from the rudder pedals.